Well, just a short time ago, Stephen Conroy, the Minister for Broadband Communications and the Digital Economy and Deputy Leader of the Government in the Senate, joined us from our Parliament House studio. Stephen Conroy, thanks for being there.
Good to be with you.
There's been a ceasefire on recriminations over Labor's disastrous election campaign so far, but the former Labor pollster Rod Cameron has tonight described this as the worst campaign in Labor's history. Who'll carry the can for that?
Well, I think what you'll see is, as you see after every election, that there will be a review. It'll be a thorough review. It will look at all of the issues. It'll look at what went wrong, what went right, what we could do better, what were our strengths. But there were a whole range of challenges across the country that made this an unusually difficult campaign. But that review will be thorough. It will be conducted with rigour. And I expect that there'll be a lot of interest and a lot of input to that committee, as there should be.
And will heads roll at the end of it? Because Karl Batar is the obvious target, but are there others?
Well, I think you don't want to... If you're going to have a review, you can't announce the outcome at the beginning of the review if people are fair dinkum about a review. So I think it's a bit premature to start making claims like that. If you're going to have a fair dinkum open review, you can't start off by saying, here's the outcome.
Well, many senior Labor figures blamed Kevin Rudd or his camp for the leaks which derailed the campaign in its first weeks. How comfortable will those senior Labor figures be if he's rewarded with the Foreign Ministry, as now seems very likely?
Well, what I think will focus the mind of all of the Cabinet Ministers is what Julia has been just talking to the Australian public about over the last 18 days, and that is stability. What this country needs now, after a 5-week campaign and a 17-day hiatus, is stable, sensible government from the whole Cabinet team. And I think that will be the major focus for this Cabinet. We've got a lot of challenges. We've got a lot of policy to implement. We've got a broadband network to roll out. We've got a whole range of initiatives in health and education. We've got international challenges. In America, they're talking about double-dip recessions and needing to step in again. We've got a whole range of challenges. So I don't think people will have time or the inclination to worry about those sorts of issues over the next 3 years.
So in the new political paradigm, no more bad feelings in Labor. That's going to be a bit hard for some people to stomach, isn't it?
I think stability and focusing on the job that is in front of us now has to be the challenge and the objective of the Labor Party, the Labor Cabinet, the Labor Ministry. And I think Julia is the person that can lead us forward to be focused on delivering our health reforms, on delivering our education
All right,
reforms.
I know we won't go through the list of reforms again. We'll talk about broadband in just a moment. But just very briefly, you'll be very happy to work with Kevin Rudd as Foreign Minister, will you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you expect him to be?
Look, that's a matter for Julia. There's been a lot of speculation in today's press, online and in the evening news about who's getting what. I don't think any of those things have been decided, but ultimately, as has always been the case, the Prime Minister decides portfolio allocation. And Julia has said that Kevin will get a significant role in her government.
All right. In the last days of the negotiations with the independents, broadband proved to be decisive. Have you just saved Labor from its worst ever electoral defeat?
Look, I think there's a whole range of factors that enabled us to ultimately form government in health, in education. But clearly for rural independents like Tony Windsor and Bob Katter described the National Broadband Network as a positive. This was something that they've recognised will transform their regions. It's something that allows us to begin the debate around sustainable population. If we are able to deliver the services into regional Australia that are equivalent to those that they get in the city, we begin to get a better distribution of population. We can take the pressure off the cities. We have the capacity for the sea change and the tree change communities to be able to do that and still access those services. So what I think Tony Windsor, Bob Katter and Rob Oakeshott all recognised was the important transformative benefits that will come from the National Broadband Network. Getting that equivalence in pricing and access to connectivity was what I think was critical in their minds.
OK, can you tell us now the dust has settled exactly how much the national broadband network is going to cost the taxpayer?
Well, the $43 billion price tag was confirmed from the $25 million McKinsey's report. But that was a report done on a no Telstra deal. The Telstra deal, the experts have said, will save the taxpayers between $4 and $6 billion towards that total $43 billion. Now, NBN Co haven't confirmed a figure, but experts in the field have said this will save because we're no longer needing to duplicate all of Telstra's existing infrastructure because the deal now gives us access to that infrastructure. Experts say between $4 and $6 billion.
Just over a year ago, you told us the government, that is the taxpayer, would have to put up 22 of the $43 billion. By the time of the election, that had gone up to $27 billion, so $5 billion increase in a year. With that kind of increase and uncertainty, how can you tell what's actually going to cost?
I think you're verbling me a bit there.
No,
I think you're verbling me a bit there. No. I think if you go back and look, I said it on an indicative ratio, based on 50% equity, 50% borrowings, that would be the situation. And I used the words indicative many, many times, Tony. What the McKinsey's report
So the ratio's changed, has it? So the taxpayer now pays more than you said initially?
What the McKinsey's report said was that in their view, there was a strong, sound public policy reason for having the government contribution up front because it would be hard to attract the private sector borrowings, the bond issuings, while it was under construction. It also would mitigate against the universality, the capacity to reach the 93% if we started bringing in private capital earlier. So they, in their report, said to us it should be $27 billion that allows us to complete the build, and then with the revenue streams that would be coming in, particularly with the new Telstra deal, we get revenue from day one as we start bringing Telstra customers over onto our network, would allow us then to start. The remainder would be provided by the private sector.
All right. It sounds like that revenue stream is going to be slowed down by the fact that you're changing the way you're rolling it out. You're going to roll it out first in the regions and with subsidies. So what's this new system, the change to the rollout and the extra subsidies to regional areas? What is that actually going to cost overall? Have you been able to price that yet?
Well, the issue of the cross subsidy has been something that NBN have advocated and I've advocated, and now we've reached agreement with those country independents. We've been making it very clear. There will be, for individual products offered at a wholesale level, there'll be one price across the country. If a bank can offer the same price to access an ATM in Bourke Street or in Bourke, there is no reason why the NBN shouldn't be able to offer a universal price across the country. What that clearly delivers, though, is a cross-subsidy, and we are unashamed about this. We've said this from day one. We believe there needs to be, to deliver this national broadband network, that cross-subsidy element. So we've always argued
the change that you're
case.
making now as a result of your negotiations with the independents, do they cost anything? Is it going to cost more? Is the project going to be more expensive as a result?
No, look, not at all. What we're talking about with the independents is the priority of where we roll it out. Now, if you look at where we've actually been rolling it out, as has been public for many months now, we're rolling out in Wollonga, a small country town in South Australia. We've targeted Geraldton. We've targeted Armidale. We've targeted Townsville. We've targeted Kiama Downs, just south of Wollongong. We've actually been rolling it out.
And are you now, I need to ask
Australia.
This, are you now going to target Tamworth and Port Macquarie?
Well, the engineers at NBN Co have got a range of options. The way that the rollout will actually be constructed is there'll be more than 30 construction sites across Australia when it reaches its peak build at the same time, over 30. And what we'll be talking to NBN about in the next few days is, instead of starting one maybe in the centre of Melbourne, we would actually do one in, picking a town, Wodonga. Instead of starting in Brisbane, we might do Mackay. So that's the conversation.
Okay, Tamworth, Port Macquarie? Macquarie, are they on the agenda or not?
The independents did not put forward any plan whatsoever to prioritise their own electorates. I think what attracted them to the National Broadband Network was that this was a national benefit to all of regional Australia. They did not ask for, nor did we give them, any commitments about being focused in their individual electorates.
OK, Stephen Conroy, we're out of time. We thank you very much. What's going to be an ongoing discussion about broadband for coming and talking to us tonight.
Good to be with you, Tony.